There is a quiet moment at the end of every day that most of us hardly notice. It comes after the shower, after the warm water stops running, after the bathroom door begins to close. For 63-year-old Michael, who lives just outside Columbus, Ohio, that moment passes almost without a thought. Steam still clings to the mirror, tiny pools of water gather around the shampoo bottles, a towel hangs from its hook, still carrying yesterday's dampness. The room isn't dirty, not really, but it doesn't feel finished. Michael glances around for a second before turning off the light. "I'll take care of it tomorrow," he tells himself. Tomorrow becomes Saturday. Saturday turns into another long cleaning session. The grout needs scrubbing again. The corners smell slightly damp. The same battle begins all over. Most of us know that feeling, not because we dislike cleaning, but because our homes quietly collect dozens of small unfinished moments until they become one overwhelming task. Now let's travel nearly 7,000 miles across the Pacific. In Kyoto, as the evening settles over narrow streets and softly glowing windows, 68-year-old Keiko Sato has also just finished her bath. Her apartment is small, her bathroom is even smaller. The tiles have been there for years. The fixtures are simple. There are no expensive cleaning products lined up on the shelves. Nothing about the room suggests luxury. And yet, the moment you step inside, you notice something different. The air feels fresh. The floor is almost dry. The glass catches the evening light without a single cloudy streak. The room feels peaceful, not because it has never been used, but because it has been gently cared for. The remarkable thing is that Keiko has never considered herself someone who enjoys cleaning. She doesn't spend entire weekends scrubbing her bathroom. She doesn't chase perfection. She simply follows the same quiet rhythm her mother taught her many years ago. It begins the moment her bath ends. It takes only a few gentle minutes. And somehow, those few minutes have protected this little room for decades. But those minutes were never really about preventing mold. They were about something much quieter, leaving tomorrow with one less burden to carry. So tonight, I invite you to spend one peaceful evening with Keiko, not to learn another list of cleaning tips, not to discover a miracle product, but to experience a different relationship with your home, because by the end of this evening, you may discover that the real secret of Japanese cleaning has never been about fighting mold at all. It has always been about protecting peace before it quietly slips away. Keiko doesn't leave the bathroom the moment her bath is over. She never has. While the water is still warm and the evening is completely quiet, she simply stands there for a few seconds. Not because she's looking for something that needs to be cleaned, and not because she's checking for dirt. She is doing something much simpler. She is noticing the room. A few drops of water resting on the edge of the tub, a little steam still clinging to the mirror, the soft sound of water slowly finding its way toward the drain. To someone watching from the outside, those few seconds might seem insignificant, but for Keiko, they are the natural ending to her evening bath. Years ago, when she was a little girl growing up in Kyoto, she once asked her mother why she never rushed out of the bathroom. Her mother smiled and answered with a sentence Keiko never forgot. "A room takes care of us while we are inside it. Before we leave, we should leave it ready to take care of us again tomorrow." It wasn't presented as a rule. There was no lecture, no long explanation. It was simply how life was lived. That small idea quietly shaped the way Keiko cared for every space she entered. She straightened the cushion after standing up. She folded the blanket before leaving the room. She placed her teacup back where it belonged after breakfast, and every evening she ended her bath the same way, with a brief pause before walking away. Many people think cleaning begins when something looks dirty. In Japan, it often begins much earlier. It begins with paying attention. Because the moment we truly notice a space, we also notice what it quietly needs. Not tomorrow, not this weekend. Right now, while the task is still gentle. Modern psychology often tells us that unfinished tasks quietly occupy our minds, even when we think we've moved on. A room left half-finished can create the same feeling. It doesn't demand our attention loudly, it simply waits, adding one more invisible weight to tomorrow. Keiko never tries to carry tomorrow's weight into tomorrow. She leaves it here, in these quiet moments, while everything is still easy. As she reaches for the shower head, her evening ritual truly begins. Keiko wraps her fingers around the shower head one more time, not to wash herself. That part of the evening is already over. Instead, she turns the water toward the walls. A gentle stream moves slowly across the smooth surface, then across the glass, around the edge of the bathtub, across the floor. Finally, she lets the water pass over the drain before setting the shower head back into its holder. The entire ritual takes less than half a minute. To someone unfamiliar with Japanese homes, it might seem unnecessary. After all, didn't she just use water to clean herself? Why add even more? The answer lies in something we rarely notice. The water left behind after a shower is not the same water that comes from the shower head. By the time your bath is finished, the walls and floor are often coated with an invisible mixture of soap residue, body oils, shampoo, conditioner, tiny skin particles, and minerals from the water itself. Most of it cannot be seen. But over time, those thin layers become exactly what mold needs to settle and grow. Keiko never waits for those layers to build. She removes them while they are still almost invisible. Not because she fears mold, because it is easier to finish a task while it is still small than to fight it once it has grown. Many people think Japanese homes stay clean because people spend more time cleaning. In reality, they often spend less time. The difference is timing. They do small things while they are effortless. By the weekend, there is very little left to rescue. There is another quiet lesson hidden inside this simple habit. In Japanese culture, water is often associated with renewal. It refreshes. It carries away what is no longer needed. Perhaps that is why Keiko never sees this final rinse as another chore. She sees it as the closing moment of the bath itself. The bath is not truly finished until the room has also been refreshed. As the last thin stream of water disappears toward the drain, the walls no longer carry the evening with them. Now only one thing remains: the moisture itself. The bathroom is quiet again. The shower has stopped. The walls have been rinsed. For a brief moment, nothing moves except a few clear drops slowly making their way down the glass. Keiko watches them for just a second. Then she reaches for a small squeegee, hanging neatly beside the shower. It isn't expensive. The rubber edge has softened with years of use. Its handle has become smooth from being held thousands of times. She places it gently against the glass and pulls it downward in one slow, unbroken motion. There is almost no sound, just the faint whisper of water gathering together before sliding toward the floor. One stroke becomes another. Glass. Tile. The edge of the bathtub. Finally, the floor. She is not trying to make everything perfectly dry. She is simply helping the water continue its journey. That small difference changes everything. Many of us think moisture becomes a problem because water exists, but water itself is not the enemy. Water is part of life. It cleans us, it refreshes us, it nourishes us. The problem begins only when water stops moving, when it settles into corners, when it hides beneath bottles, when it lingers inside grout lines or beneath a folded towel. That is when freshness slowly gives way to dampness. Modern building science tells us the same story. The longer moisture remains on a surface, the longer that surface stays within the humidity range where mold is most likely to develop. Even reducing drying time by a small amount each day can make a meaningful difference over weeks and months. Keiko has never read studies about humidity. She doesn't think in percentages or drying curves. She simply follows something she has observed throughout her life. Things that continue moving rarely become problems. Things left standing often do. Perhaps that is why this quiet habit feels larger than cleaning. A puddle left untouched grows stale. A conversation left unfinished grows distant. A worry carried from one day into the next becomes heavier than it ever needed to be. Movement brings release, not by force, but by refusing to let small things remain where they no longer belong. With one final gentle pass across the floor, the last thin trail of water disappears into the drain. The room already feels lighter, yet Keiko knows there is still one place where even the smallest things can quietly begin to collect. With the floor nearly dry, Keiko bends down one last time. Her attention turns to the smallest part of the room, the drain. Most people hardly notice it until something goes wrong, until water begins to drain more slowly, until an unpleasant smell appears, until cleaning it feels like a job no one wants to do. Keiko has learned that by then, the real work is no longer cleaning. The real work is undoing weeks of quiet neglect. She lifts the drain cover with one hand. There are only a few strands of hair resting on the small filter. Nothing more. She removes them with a piece of tissue, gives the cover a quick rinse under the shower, and places it back exactly where it belongs. The entire routine takes less than half a minute. Then she stands up. The bathroom is finished. There is nothing dramatic about what she has just done. In fact, someone watching might wonder why such a tiny task matters at all. The answer has very little to do with hair. A few strands of hair are harmless. The problem begins when hair traps soap residue. Soap catches dust. Dust holds moisture. And before long, something that once took 20 seconds now demands 20 minutes. This simple pattern appears almost everywhere in life. A single dirty dish is easy to wash. A sink full of dishes feels exhausting. One unopened letter is nothing. A stack of unopened mail quietly creates stress. One forgotten corner in a bathroom seems insignificant. Months later, it becomes the place we avoid looking at. Keiko has never tried to become more disciplined than everyone else. She has simply learned not to give small problems enough time to become emotional ones. That is why her evening routine feels so light. She is never catching up. She is simply staying close. Modern psychologists often describe this as reducing cognitive load, the mental effort required to remember unfinished tasks. The fewer loose ends we carry from one day to the next, the more mental space we have for rest, creativity, and presence. Without using those words, Keiko has practiced the same principle for decades. She finishes small things while they are still small. Not because she enjoys cleaning, but because she enjoys waking up to a home that asks nothing from her. She takes one quiet look around the room. Everything is in its place. Almost. There is still one final step before the bathroom can truly rest for the night. Not another cleaning task. Something even gentler. She opens the door and lets the room breathe. Keiko leaves the bathroom door slightly open. Not all the way. Just enough. She reaches toward a small switch on the wall, and a quiet ventilation fan begins its familiar hum. It is such an ordinary sound that she barely notices it anymore. For her, this has never been the beginning of another cleaning task. It is simply the final breath of the room before bedtime. She walks back for one last glance. Her bath towel is no longer folded over itself. Instead, she gives it one gentle shake and hangs it flat across a wide towel bar. There is space around it, space for air to move, space for moisture to leave. Nothing is crowded together. Nothing is trapped. To many people, these small details seem almost too simple to matter, but homes, like people, respond to their environment. A room that cannot breathe slowly begins to feel tired. The air grows heavier, surfaces remain damp for longer. Freshness quietly fades without anyone noticing the exact moment it happened. Bathrooms are especially vulnerable because they naturally hold warmth and humidity. Without moving air, that warmth lingers. Tiny droplets remain hidden in corners, behind bottles, beneath towels, and inside grout lines long after the shower has ended. Research on indoor humidity consistently shows that reducing moisture and improving ventilation are among the most effective ways to discourage mold growth. It isn't always stronger chemicals that make the greatest difference. Often, it is simply allowing surfaces to dry more quickly. Keiko has never thought of ventilation as another household responsibility. To her, fresh air is simply part of finishing the bath. The room cared for her. Now she allows the room to recover. There is something quietly comforting about that idea. In Japanese homes, empty space is rarely seen as wasted space. A little distance between objects allows light to enter, air to circulate, movement to continue. The same idea appears in gardens, where stones are placed with room for moss to grow naturally. It appears in traditional tea rooms, where simplicity creates calm rather than emptiness. And perhaps it appears here as well, in the small decision not to crowd a towel against the wall or leave bottles pressed tightly together where moisture has nowhere to escape. Sometimes we believe a home feels peaceful because it is beautifully designed. More often, it feels peaceful because it has room to breathe. Keiko switches off the bathroom light. The fan continues quietly behind the closed door. Its gentle hum will accompany the room for another hour or so, carrying away the last traces of warmth and moisture while the rest of the apartment settles into silence. For tonight, her work is finished. Or perhaps, work is not the right word. Nothing she has done has felt like work at all. It has simply been the natural rhythm of ending one day with care, so the next day can begin without interruption. Tomorrow morning will reveal why those few quiet minutes matter so much. Morning comes without asking permission. The first light of day slips through Keiko's kitchen window before reaching the hallway outside her bathroom. Nothing feels hurried. Nothing feels unfinished. She slides open the bathroom door. The air that greets her is cool and fresh. The mirror is perfectly clear. There is no lingering heaviness from the night before. The floor is completely dry beneath her feet. The towel she hung so carefully only hours ago is light, soft, and ready to be used again. The room asks nothing from her. No unpleasant smell catches her attention. No puddles wait in the corners. No silent reminder whispers that something should have been cleaned yesterday. She simply begins another ordinary morning. That may not sound remarkable, but perhaps that is exactly the point. A peaceful home rarely announces itself. It doesn't ask to be admired. It simply allows life to continue without interruption. Now imagine Michael opening his bathroom door on the same morning. Nothing disastrous has happened overnight, but the mirror still feels damp. The towel has not fully dried. Moisture lingers in the corners. The room quietly reminds him that another cleaning day is getting closer. Neither bathroom changed dramatically overnight. The difference was never created this morning. It was created the evening before. One room carried yesterday into today. The other quietly let yesterday come to an end. That is the quiet power of small daily rituals. They shape tomorrow long before tomorrow arrives. We often imagine that peace comes from having more free time, a larger home, better cleaning products, more energy. Keiko would probably smile at that idea, because the peace she enjoys each morning doesn't come from having more of anything. It comes from leaving less behind, less standing water, less trapped moisture, less unfinished work, less mental clutter. There is an old Japanese saying that can be loosely understood as caring for the ordinary before it asks for your attention. Whether or not Keiko has ever spoken those words aloud hardly matters. She lives them every evening. Not perfectly, simply consistently, and consistency has a quiet way of becoming invisible. Guests notice that her bathroom always feels fresh. They never notice the 3 gentle minutes that made it possible. Perhaps that is true of many beautiful things in life. The strongest habits are often the ones no one sees. The calmest homes are often cared for in ways no visitor ever notices. The greatest acts of care are usually the quietest ones. As sunlight slowly fills the room, Keiko closes the bathroom door once more, not because there is more work waiting inside, but because there isn't. For today, the room is already ready, just as she hoped it would be when she left it the night before. If someone asked Keiko how she keeps her bathroom so fresh, she probably wouldn't begin by talking about humidity. She wouldn't mention soap residue, or ventilation, or even the little squeegee hanging quietly beside the shower. She might simply smile and say, "I like waking up to a room that is already ready for me." That answer may sound almost too simple, yet hidden inside it is something many of us have forgotten. We often think of cleaning as a way to erase yesterday. Keiko sees it differently. For her, cleaning is a quiet gift to tomorrow. Every gentle movement she makes in the evening is really an act of kindness toward the person she will become the next morning. She will not have to begin her day with another decision, another chore, another reminder. She has already taken care of it. In that sense, the bathroom is only the beginning. The same quiet rhythm appears throughout her apartment. The teacup is washed before bedtime. The kitchen towel is left to dry. The slippers are placed neatly by the door. The small dining table is cleared before the evening ends. None of these habits takes very long, but together they create something much larger than cleanliness. They create ease. Perhaps that is one of the most beautiful ideas hidden inside everyday Japanese living. Peace is rarely created by extraordinary moments. More often, it grows from ordinary moments that are completed with care. A room that is left ready, a chair pushed back into place, a window opened for fresh air, a towel hung so it can dry, tiny gestures, repeated quietly, day after day, year after year, without applause, without anyone noticing. It is easy to believe that a peaceful home belongs to people with more money, more space, or more free time. Keiko's apartment quietly tells a different story. Peace does not always come from having more. Sometimes it comes from leaving less unfinished, less moisture, less clutter, less postponement, less weight carried into tomorrow. Perhaps that is why stepping into her bathroom feels so different. Not because every surface shines, but because nothing inside the room feels neglected. Nothing asks for attention. Nothing quietly pulls at the mind. The room simply allows her to begin another day in peace. And maybe that has been the real lesson all along. The secret was never learning how to defeat mold. The secret was learning how to build a home that asks for so little because it is gently cared for every single day. That is not only a cleaning habit, it is a way of living. This evening began with two bathrooms, two ordinary homes, two people finishing the very same daily routine. Neither home was more expensive. Neither bathroom was more beautiful. The difference was never found in the tiles, the fixtures, or the cleaning products. It was found in a few quiet minutes that most of us never think about. As night settled over Kyoto, Keiko didn't leave the bathroom behind. She finished her relationship with it for the day. She allowed the walls to let go of the soap that no longer belonged there. She helped the water continue its journey instead of leaving it trapped in silence. She removed a few tiny things before they ever had the chance to become heavy. She gave the room fresh air. Then she simply walked away. Nothing dramatic happened. And perhaps that is why her home feels the way it does. Peace rarely arrives through dramatic effort. It usually arrives through quiet consistency, morning after morning, year after year, long before anyone notices the results. Tomorrow, Michael will probably clean his bathroom again. Perhaps it will stay fresh for a few days. Perhaps only for one. But if he begins to care for the room the way Keiko does, not by working harder, but by ending each evening with intention, something else may begin to change as well. Not only the bathroom, the feeling of coming home, because every room we care for quietly shapes the way we live inside it. A home that asks very little from us leaves more room for the things that truly deserve our attention. A slow breakfast, a favorite book, a conversation with someone we love, a peaceful morning with nothing demanding to be fixed before the day can begin. Maybe that is why so many Japanese homes feel calm even when they are small. Not because their owners have discovered a secret cleaning product, but because they have learned to treat ordinary moments with extraordinary care. And perhaps that is the quiet heart of Japanese cleaning. It is not about fighting dirt. It is not about chasing perfection. It is about leaving every room just a little better than you found it, so that tomorrow arrives carrying a little less weight than yesterday. Thank you for spending this quiet evening with Keiko. I hope that the next time you finish your shower, before you turn off the light and close the door, you'll pause for just a moment. Not because you have another chore to do, but because you have an opportunity to give a small gift to the person who will open that bathroom door tomorrow morning. Sometimes, peace begins with nothing more than that, and sometimes that is enough.